Hey guys, what's up? It's Auto Kevin here. And in today's video, I want to talk to you guys about this silver piece of turd. Now, it's not an absolute turd, but still, from where it came from, what happened to the car, it looked like a turd. So in today's video, I want to talk to you guys about what makes this Mercedes 190D so cool. And, how much of a great car and how much of a great deal I bought this car for. So for starters, I want to talk to you guys about how much I bought this car for. I bought it with my own money when I sold my Saab a couple of months back. I think I bought this car in late March, near early April. And this guy was selling the car for about $1,000 firm. The car didn't have a battery. The alternator was shot. All four tires were dry rot. I've even tried doing Bondo, but that didn't work out so well. The car had plenty of problems. So let me go ahead and list you guys the problems that the car had before. Well, for starters, the turn signals didn't work. The all four tires were dry rot. Battery was missing. All he had in there, all he had in the engine bay, in place of the battery, was the jump box. The alternator was just shot. Basically, apparently the car was in fact in a flood. Probably not in a flood, like not a continuous flood, but it wasn't a flood once because there is rust in the engine bay. And if you guys have seen my Instagram pictures on my Instagram account, auto underscore Kev97, you will see where the rust is. And if you also check my stories, you'll also check and see that my headliner has also been through the works. So I forgot to mention one other thing though, is that the fuel gauge works sometimes, and that's because the float inside the fuel sending unit is kind of stuck in a certain place. Because since this car actually has sat for an entire year. The car originally came from Alabama. It was. I think it would probably was no doubt was meticulously maintained, but I have found some service records. But then this guy who lives here in Georgia, some part of Georgia, I'm not gonna disclose his name, by the way. He bought it for about $300, and he bought another one like this, except that one wasn't running. This one was running, and he let it sit for a year, and no one he probably did put up for sale once, or maybe he got scammed or whatever the case may be. It just so happened to be that around this time of year, I found this Mercedes diesel for sale on Craigslist. When I saw the name of the car 190D, I was excited because hey, it's a Mercedes diesel. These Mercedes diesels are reliable. And when I say Mercedes diesel, I'm not talking about the new diesels. I'm talking about the older diesels. Because these old diesels, if you maintain them, if it's meticulously maintained or maintained properly, these engines will last you forever. It's actually not uncommon to find this car having 600,000 miles on it. So, because this car can do it easily. Like I said before, as long as it's meticulously maintained, it can go 600,000 miles, even more than that. So aside from all the other issues that the car had, you're probably wondering how much I buy the car for. The answer is I bought it for $800. Yeah, sure, I got scammed off of $500. Yeah, the guy did purchase this car for $300, and I paid $800 for it. But you know what? Screw it. Doesn't matter anymore. I have this car in my possession. My dad and I are actually slowly trying to restore this car and making it something special. And honestly, this car has been really good. Actually, it's been really nice. We did, of course, replace the tires. We replaced the alternator because the alternator is actually charging. Like I said before, the car was in water. I'm not sure for how long, and the old alternator was submerged in water for a certain amount of time, and therefore short circuited, therefore not charging the battery. So it's really no, it's real. It is what it is. I mean, I bought this as a junker. I thought this car was gonna be a junker. Like I wasted $800 on this car. Aside from the headliner looking so shitty, it was a good buy. It was a really good buy. Let me go ahead and show you underneath the hood, though. There you go. So, let's talk about the engine. This is a Mercedes 2.2 OM601. You can tell by the exhaust manifolds that this is in fact a 4-cylinder, but I didn't have to tell you that either. This car is slow as a snail. You want to know why? I'll give you one good reason why, and that is because Mercedes, when they produced the 190D, or the turbo diesel models, or diesel models in general, the rest of the world got the 2-liter model, a 2-liter diesel, which is the same motor as this, but just 0.2 liters smaller, and didn't have a turbo. So I can tell you that was much slower than this. What America got was the 2.2, which is the naturally aspirated 4-cylinder. Even if it's a bigger motor than the 2-liter, it's still slow. And not to mention, it's a single overhead cam engine. So you're definitely not going to be going fast anytime soon. However, once you get up to speed, like we going constant 55 miles an hour, it'll do it. It'll maintain that speed. And that's what this car is good for. I'm actually currently using this car as a daily driver. Now, you might be thinking, Kevin, what are you thinking? Why do you have this slow car as a daily driver? For me, I'm more concerned about fuel economy, and honestly, this car has been very fuel efficient recently. I've recently replaced the oil with something special. I'll actually show you guys. So I use some of this actually to so I use some of this this 5W40 synthetic oil. I use 3 of these, like I'd say about 3 of these, plus a little small quart, just to fill this up. And it seems to be doing its job, as I can tell that the engine has its original compression back. When I drove this car for the first time with that dirty oil in there, it felt like the car was just like slugging and all that. It felt like it did not have any sort of power whatsoever. This filter was in really bad shape. It was so dirty and watery too that I can finally understand why the engine was having a hard time picking up. Now, here's one thing that you diesel guys may know, is that sometimes when you turn the car off, after you turn it on, the engine will stay running. Well, that's because there's a vacuum line. There's a vacuum line right in there. Hard to tell because the camera quality looks terrible. Sorry about my bad camera. But it's right in here. And that's the only reason why the car will not shut off. So because the vacuum line being too small or too big, it was basically causing extra vacuum to leak out from that valve, and therefore causing the engine to stay running. It's a typical issue with these older Mercedes diesels. Another issue that the car had was that the fuel lines for the injectors were too short, and therefore causing extra diesel to not spray into the injectors, but rather spray onto the engine. So thankfully I replaced that. And it seems to be working pretty well. Now, some other things are coming up. Usually with these old cars, if since this car has sat for a year, you know, I don't expect for everything to work. It appears we have an electrical issue inside the dash because I cannot control the fan speed or activate the AC. So how I drive this car around? Well, I let the window down a little bit. I let the window down actually, which, I mean, the driver's side window is the only window that works. None of the other windows work, with the exception of the passenger rear side window. The motor works, but the window's just not going down. I do get some free air actually, coming from the middle vents, and that's only outside air. So I have to be constantly moving in order to get some outside air coming into the cabin with the windows up. Otherwise, I'm going to have the windows down slightly, which sucks actually. I like to have AC. This one of course does have the R12, and for that, you know, I'm sure the R12 in here does work. And if it does, I'm going to do an R134 conversion kit, which for me having this garage, it should help out a little bit. But just because just buying R12 is just not worth. It's not worth it. It's like cost a lot. You may also see that the covering piece for this for the electrical is missing. So that means that if I'm washing a car off or whatever, I have to be extra careful that I don't get any water on the electrical wiring, because if I do, I'm gonna have to replace it, and that's gonna cause a lot of issues. So I have no choice but to avoid it or cover it with a towel. What I can do is fabricate a material or get a material and make it and form around the electrical wiring, so that way it doesn't get wet. So I will do that eventually. So this is the OM601. It is naturally aspirated. Makes 72 horsepower and about 75 torque. And honestly, that's all you get. Now it's not too bad. It's not too bad. Like when you first accelerate, it accelerates pretty well actually. It's not the worst accelerating car, but I know there are slower cars out there that have less than 72 horsepower. In comparison, this 2001 Nissan Altima actually makes about 120 or maybe 130 horsepower and about 150 torque. That's because that one has the 2.4 KA24DE motor, which is a double overhead cam engine, and this is a single overhead cam engine. The problem being that this 4-speed automatic transmission is sluggish. It doesn't matter what kind of fluid we have in there, fluid or no fluid, this transmission is sluggish. Although I guess it does matter what kind of fluid you have inside, but still, regardless, this transmission is so sluggish. If I want to downshift, sometimes it hesitates, but then it decides to downshift sometimes. This transmission, it's still reliable. Yeah, it's reliable, but it's not engaging at all. So that's the unfortunate part of this automatic transmission. Another thing that also has to be fixed, or at least changed, is the differential oil. Because I recognize that as soon as I drive up to 45 or 55 miles an hour, the differential starts making a slight howling sound. And that's probably because the diff fluid probably hasn't been replaced at all. It's probably overdue for its replacement, for putting in new oil. It is no doubt overdue. So, with that being said, definitely I'm going to replace the diff fluid, because, if you don't replace the diff fluid, this can cause some serious not engine, but serious differential issues. You'll have the teeth will be grinding and everything, and that's just that. And the part alone is like $1,000. That's only $1,000 used, and that's the thing. That's So I'm gonna try and get this figured out because I know it's an easy job, and this freaking antenna will not go down no matter what I do. It's stuck in place. I have to use some sort of rust buster or whatever to put it down. But the radio the radio works. Yeah, it's just a bolt-on wide body kit where it just bolts on. But maybe what I will do instead, because I don't want to ruin the lines of this car, because the lines on this car is pretty good looking. The only way you can ruin the lines is add on crappy looking bolt-on kits. So I want to widen the tires out first, and then I'll see how that looks. And if I'm not satisfied, I'll just do a little slight bolt-on wide body kit to make it look wider. Another thing I also want to do is perhaps lower the car a little bit. Probably want to lower it by like maybe a couple inches, maybe 4 inches. I want to do that eventually. I want to do that at some point. Also, you also may not know, but this car basically has no muffler. Well, has no exhaust system besides its muffler. So there is no trap oxidizer. There is no DPF. All it has is just a straight pipe and then a muffler. What I'm thinking about doing is getting rid of the muffler to give it a little bit more sound. Because, and might I argue that some diesel cars sound better than petrol cars. Anyways, that's not a whole lot for me to talk about this car, but I'm just giving you guys a little overview of what's been going on. I haven't been uploading lately because I've been moving into a house. So, because of that, I haven't been uploading. But hopefully I can upload more because I'm now in a house environment. Now allows me to start creating more videos for you guys to watch. So, sorry if I left you guys in the dark. I'll hopefully start producing more videos for you guys, and hopefully you guys get to enjoy it. But anyways, I'll see you all later, and have yourselves a great day.